Welcome back. Today's podcast is called 6 Mistakes Real Estate Agents Can't Afford to Make. So when we are making this list for you, we are going through a longer list of like 20 or 30 things that we thought all of you should be very weary of in terms of making mistakes, in terms of things to avoid, certainly this time of year, but really any time of year. And we whittled it down to really the top 6, I think, career-ending, income-destroying things that a lot of agents fall prey to. So we're going to give you that list right now. But do keep in mind, if you want the printed notes from today's show, simply go to harrisrealestatedaily.com. It is our daily newsletter that costs you absolutely nothing to subscribe to. Why the heck haven't you done it yet? Though with that said, like 30,000 of you have subscribed, so good job you. And in that newsletter, we're going to include all of our updated notes from that day's podcast, as well as some proprietary exclusive newsletter subscriber information. Like I just completed a white paper that's going to give you all the latest updates on all the changes to the cold calling rules, TCPA, do not call lists, all this stuff that people have been talking about. All the drill down facts are in a special report that I wrote, and it's published, and it's waiting for you over on the newsletter, as well as all the day's notes from all of our podcasts. And that's the only place you're going to find our notes. So make sure you subscribe, harrisrealestatedaily.com. And remember, when you do subscribe, which all of you should be doing right now, you've also got to go over to your email and you have to double opt in. You have to click the link saying, yes, indeed, you want the newsletter, and then you're off to the races. You can just go to harrisrealestatedaily.com, or you can scroll down below in the show description, click the link to subscribe. All right, Julie, let's roll in.
All right, so does it seem like the market is a little bit harder right now, a little bit slower, for some of you a little bit colder? That is all true. But remember, you don't need that many deals. You only need 1 or 2 right now to make most of you happy. So it is possible to correct these easy to remedy common mistakes and unlock your momentum. There are deals everywhere. All you have to do is look in your MLS to see that. But you have to be more disciplined, more skilled, and more savvy to find them in a newer, kind of slower, kind of more normal market. But the good news is that once you correct course, you can easily get back into your groove. So as Tim said, we're going to talk about those top 6 mistakes and how to fix them.
It is worth mentioning, we mentioned this the other day on the podcast, is if it feels like it's a little harder to build momentum this year, it's because it's, guess what, harder to build momentum this year for all the reasons that you know. But do not use that as an excuse to procrastinate doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. But yes, there's been a lot of consternation in over contemplation, perhaps, because of the presidential elections. There's been the weather that's delayed. There's the horrible fires that are happening in California. All the things happened in a very short period of time, didn't they?
And that was after a slowdown from the holidays, right?
Now here's the good news, because those are all bad news things for the most part. Regardless of what you feel about the election results, a lot of people do check themselves out emotionally around the election and don't make real estate decisions then. Well, here's the good news. In a market where there's people that have not purchased or not listed their homes that normally would have, say, for example, in January, you're going to see an increase in February and in March of the people that would have transacted in January. So all we're doing is we're just delaying what would have been today's closings until tomorrow. So do not feel that for some reason, if you're not where you want to be this time of year already, that you're, in any way supposed to give up on the year, because you're not. It's just normal. This is a weird year so far, and that, it's going to get weirder, I'm guessing. Probably.
Well, supposedly aliens and drones, so
yeah, exactly.
You never know, right?
Aliens and drones, oh my,
Oh
who
my.
knows what else. But you got to keep doing what is necessary. Remember, if you want ever increasing levels of success in your business and personal life, you must do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. So number 1, Julie, one of the biggest mistakes that you and I agreed agents are doing is they're playing the waiting game.
That's right. You just encompassed all that with what you said. The procrastination, the waiting for the market to crash. We know that's not going to happen now. Waiting for interest rates to come down. Maybe a little bit, but it's not going to be radical. Waiting for inventory. Look around. Some of you continue to think that there is no inventory when year over year we're up 21%. In Florida and Texas, it's up even more than that. Waiting does not get transactions into your pipeline. It also doesn't help your clients and potential clients and prospects to achieve their goals. You've got to take control of your day, your week, your month, your quarter, your year to defeat the waiting game. So remember, the remedy to that, if it's meant to be, it's up to me.
Well, so if you, for example, if you're not liking the situation that you're in now financially, chances are it's because 90 to 120 days ago, you weren't doing the things necessary to make your experience today better, right? So you weren't doing the, proactive lead generation. You weren't doing very good lead follow-up. You weren't doing all the things that we teach you to do in Premier Coaching 3 or 4 months ago. So if you're not doing the things now that you should otherwise be doing, guess what's going to happen to you in the spring? And let's be honest with you. If you have a crappy spring, chances are you're going to have a crappy summer, which means probably about June or July, you're going to give up on the year. Isn't that what most agents do? Isn't that the reason that 74% or maybe it was 71% of all agents in 2024 didn't even sell a single house? Because they had delayed starts because they waited, procrastinated, waited for someone to tap them on the shoulder and said, okay, it's finally okay for you to get back into the waters. Do not wait.
That's right. Okay, so for some of you, you're really overly attached to the interest rates being higher than you think they should be. Okay. First of all, accept the fact that they're still historically low. You have to have perspective. But remember, too, that we did a series of 2 or 3 podcasts. We've done them several times. We talk about it all the time in Premier Coaching about ways you can, even on a resale, even without new construction builder help, you can help your buyer through their lender get a lower interest rate, sometimes by 2 points less than the going rate.
Go to your local builders, especially if they're big national ones, D.R. Horton, MI Homes, whatever. Go there, talk to the new build rep, grab the flyers where they're advertising their great houses, look at the payments that they're offering, look at the bottom of the flyers, read the small print on how they're getting the payments
know
down
what a
that low.
2-1 buy down is.
Exactly.
There are loans closing right now this week that are at 3.99%.
Exactly. You can do the same thing with your listings. You can do the same thing with your lenders when you're working with buyers. You can essentially write an offer on a listing where you're asking the seller to contribute, this to the other, to buyer concessions, basically, for the sake of financing. You need to learn to do these things so you can get your buyer's payments lower. But on the listing side of things, you need to meet with your seller. You need to talk with them about what you're going to, especially if your market has a lot of new construction and the buyers are definitely payment shopping, they're definitely interest rate and payment sensitive. You're going to have to make your resale listings competitive with those new construction listings, or even if the actual price is lower than the new construction by say 100,000 even, the new construction house will have a lower payment and thus making the new construction house usually a hell of a lot more appealing because you, dear listing agent, don't know how to actually compete on payment with that new construction house. That's what you need to learn how to do. And like I told you, the cheat code is go to the builder reps flyers, look to see what the disclosures are on the financing that they're using to get the payments as low as they are, and then copy that. Do the same damn thing. We've been teaching you guys how to do this in Premier Coaching for 3 or 4 years. So make sure you're doing it. That's how you have an unfair advantage in the marketplace.
Yes. Do what the builders do. They do study this stuff.
And by the way, if you're wanting to know where the biggest growth is going to be for the most part in the country over the next probably forever, it's going to be new construction.
Hold that thought because that's one of the mistakes coming up.
Okay.
But thank you for the prequel. All right. Number 2, and this one does make me crazy from a coaching standpoint. Expecting your buyers to send you what they want to look at versus you finding the right homes for them yourself. What makes you think that most buyers know the house they grew up in, their current house, they might even not have a current house, maybe they're renting, their best friend's house, maybe their kid's best friend's house. They don't know houses like you're supposed to know houses, right? They might have a feeling for the size they want or the bedrooms, but it's your job to find them the right thing. Don't just sit around and wait for them to send you an email that they've, found something on Zillow. So,
and we give you all kinds of scripts and systems in Premier Coaching on how to go about doing this. And to Julie's point, you should only listen to really about maybe 30% of what the buyer's saying that they're looking for. I'm not telling you to be disrespectful to them. No. All I'm saying is they don't know the inventory. And frankly, they don't realize, even though I have to live in this neighborhood that was built in the 1920s, it's exactly where I want to live, blah, 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 that 15 minutes away is a really kick-ass new construction area. I never want to look at new construction. I hate new construction. I'm part of the I Hate No Construction Facebook Club. Fan page, whatever it is, right? And well, listen, I realize that you don't like new construction, but let's pop in because it's, I just wanted to show you guys some of the decorating ideas they're doing there. And sure enough, that new construction hating client, worst case scenario that you would never show new construction to, what do they end up buying? New construction. If you're in the market, if you're in the business long enough, you will have droves of experiences like that. So you cannot expect the customer to know what they want. In most cases, you're going to have to show them what's possible for them to actually buy.
Yeah, that's right. We get some really interesting feedback from our agents who do this, and they're taking that new construction hating club member to go see new construction. They say things like, I didn't think that there would be sidewalks. I didn't think there would be trees. I didn't realize on an older house, because I like the older community, the impact of terrible inspection reports. All of that feedback comes out. Okay, so mistake number 2 was expecting your buyers to send you what they want to look at versus you being proactive and finding it for them. Action steps. Get and use our buyer presentation. It drills down on specifically what your buyer clients desire in their next home. What's a deal maker and what's a deal killer? Are both people on the same page if you're working with a couple? Can you handle objections like, I want to wait for rates to come down? We talked about that. Or prices, or both. Once you know what they need, what their desires are, that they are motivated and qualified, not just motivated, it's your job to find them the right home. Think out of the box. We did a podcast series about how to find inventory other than just the MLS. Consider changing the type of property and the price range. Sometimes even going down market can find the best alternative, expanding the geographic search or looking at new construction.
This is all in Premier Coaching. We have a whole buyer section. It's part of the Premier Coaching 2.0. It's part of the Ethical Real Estate Professional Designation. There's the exclusive buyer agency program that we're going to be introducing to all of you guys very shortly in Premier Coaching. And what it is, it's going to be one of the, honestly, we're biased, but we think it's the best system for working with buyers in the market. You're going to see something like you guys know what a pre-listing pack is. Hopefully, if you've worked with sellers before, it's the pre-marketing material you give to a seller prior to meeting with you that does all the heavy lifting for you, answers the questions about, the price and the commissions and the marketing plan and all that. Because if you're going to a seller's house and you're then presenting all the things that you're going to do to sell the home and answering the question why they should list with you and all this stuff, you probably have better than a 50% chance of not taking that listing if you're competing against an agent that sent a pre-listing pack that answered all those heavy lift questions prior to actually showing up to meet with that seller. Why? Because the seller doesn't actually want to spend time meeting with you, let alone interrogating you, asking you the questions that they feel obligated to ask that makes them uncomfortable to ask and you uncomfortable to answer. And, that leads to a lot of agents that never decide to become listing agents. Same thing on the buyer side, especially in this day and age where you have to ask for buyer agent commission as a concession from the seller. And so you're going to have a more professional approach. That's what we're teaching you to do in Premier Coaching. It is without a doubt the next level in all of your coaching experiences. We know a lot of you are coming from competitors' coaching programs where they taught you to do a bunch of videos. How did that work out? Where they taught you to do a bunch of marketing and branding. How did that work out? Aren't you done playing in real estate, and aren't you finally serious about your real estate career and the potential you have because of this rapidly changing, upwardly mobile market? Join Premier Coaching. Simply go to premiercoaching.com, or you can click the link below in the show description. And yes, you could still join Premier Coaching right now 100% for free. Point number 3, Julie Harris.
All right, mistake number 3, not having enough leads in the first place. We just talked about what to do with your buyer leads, but what if you don't even have enough leads to work with? If you're struggling with lead generation, it's time to get some help before it's too late. Now more than ever, it is critical that you generate more leads than you think you need to do the business that you need to do.
That's especially true on the buyer side,
Yes.
not true necessarily on the listing side.
Especially with buyers, I 100%
Right. So if
agree.
before to have 5 closed transactions, you may be on the buyer side, you may have needed 7 buyers. Now you're going to need probably about 20. Okay, that's just unfortunately the truth. And if you guys are working primarily with buyers, you know what I'm talking about. On the listing side, if you need 5 closed listings, you might need, 5 or 6 listings. That's it. Because we're teaching you how to go after sellers that actually have to sell. And for the most part, most sellers, like 99.9% of them, aren't going to go through the effort of putting a house for sale unless they actually have to sell and are ready to get rid of the house. Unfortunately, buyers aren't like that, because buyers can always change their mind to decide to wait for rates to fall, wait for this to happen, wait for that to happen.
Yeah, nobody's inconveniencing them by trumping through their house.
And now it's the holidays, they want to wait until next spring. Yeah. Are you experiencing all of that? The frustration that comes from all of that? That's because you're primarily focused on buyers. You need to pivot and work on sellers. Focus on sellers. That is absolutely what we teach you to do in Premier Coaching.
Okay, mistake number 4, spending too much time chasing down your prospects to set the appointment. And again, especially buyers. Here's the action step. After a showing appointment where your buyer is not writing an offer, always set the next appointment before they leave the one you're just ending. Set it for a couple of days out so you have time to find the next homes to show them. Drill down further to find out what they liked or disliked about what you just showed them. It's just not for me. That's not real feedback. You've got to drill down so that you can do a better job finding them what they want on the next
But I'm going to take
thing.
that to a different level. Before you actually take here's the buyer process. You generate the lead, you pre-qualify the buyer. You now know what the buyer's time frame is. You know how long they've been looking. You've confirmed they're not working with anyone else. You know what their financial information is. This is an actual lead. It's not just a contact. Now, next thing you're going to obviously do is meet with them. You're going to have them sign the buyer agency, the exclusive buyer agency. You're going to use your ethical real estate professional pre-appointment package. So all of that's going to be done. All the legal stuff's going to be done. All the consumer information is going to be answered, or the questions are going to be answered. But then this is where the actual work starts. You need to set a timeline and parameters of what it means to work with you. So this is not the exact script. It's an overview of it, but I just want you to get the concept of it. So Mr. Buyer, here's the thing. We spent quite a bit of time talking about what you're looking for. I've got a great idea of what I'm going to show you. I'm excited to show you some of the homes that I've handpicked for you. Some of them you may have seen for sale. Others maybe you haven't seen. And agents, you're going to be sprinkling in new construction, maybe some off markets, and obviously stuff they may have seen from Realtor.com or whatever. But here's the thing I want you to understand. In the marketplace in which you're looking, in the price range in which you're looking, there's 11 homes for sale. And we'll show you guys how to whittle it down so they're not wanting to see things all over God's green earth, because everyone lives basically lives and operates within a 20-mile radius. Some cases in a really dense city, it's going to be more like a 10-mile radius. And if you actually just, say, well, where do you go to school? Where do you go to worship? Where's your grocery store? Where do you go to, all those things? And you put little dots on a map, you're going to see that most people live within a very small radius and they never want to travel that far. So then you're going to say, well, how far outside of this radius, in an actual radius, do you want to live? And would you buy a house? Are you willing to travel 30 minutes to get to the grocery store? No, I'm, whatever. Okay. Then you're going to figure out how to modify the radius if necessary, make it smaller or larger. And then you're going to overlay it with the homes that are for sale that meet their criteria based on price. Okay, well, it turns out they don't want a 2-story. They want a 1-story. So there were 11 before, but now there's only 4. Okay, they want something that's got an acre lot, or they want something that's got a smaller lot. Now you whittle it down, and now you've got 2 or 3 homes to show them. You guys see how you do that? Don't just show them everything. Show them the things that they're most likely to buy. Why? Because they're going to appreciate the fact you're not wasting their damn time. And you're taking a more professional approach.
And you're not waiting for them to search in Zillow for you and then send you what they might be interested in.
Because when you do that, you are fungible. They will fire you. You have no value. So then what you say is, Mr. Buyer, here's the thing. I'm going to be showing you the 3 or 4 homes today that most closely match your criteria. And, we've gone through the process of whittling it down. We know these are the ones that are most likely to be a match for what you're looking for. But here's the thing you have to understand. When I show you a home, you've got to understand there's probably been, 25 other people who have looked at it before you, and 25 people are going to be looking at it after you. And I know I'm showing you 3 homes, but if the first home I show you happens to match all of your criteria, you've got to tell me so we can secure that house for you. So in every appointment, including the first one, I want to make sure you bring your checkbook so when we write a contract, you can actually have your checkbook ready to write a deposit. Does that make sense? They're going to say yes. And you will be shocked because you've said that, how frequently the first house you show them is the one they want to buy, but you gave them permission, you coached them essentially that it's okay based on the criteria that they gave you and the work that you did with the clients, whittling it down what would be the best match for them, that they're going to feel comfortable waiting to write an offer on that particular house. You guys get it? Your job is not to wear them down, showing them every damn house in the MLS. That's how you get fired and how you end up not selling a home, and that's not a professional approach. We have 3 or 4 really good scripts and systems that you need to deploy when working with buyers, so you're only working with the best, most qualified, motivated ones, and frankly, you're working with the ones that are actually going to transact because they have realistic expectations of what they can afford. There's lots of buyers out there that have been looking at too many Instagram and TikToks and think that they're going to be rolling around in a Rolls Royce and driving up to a mansion where that's not really in their budget. And, those folks you probably don't want to be working with because they're never going to transact.
Yes. What did we used to call those? Housing tourists? They just wanted to go around and look at some stuff.
Well, the aspirational types is what we call them. Those are always the toughest ones to look at because they're not ready to deal with reality, and they're bitter that they can't afford what they truly think that they want.
Yeah, that's
right. And so some of those folks you just need to cut free, not have them in your life. But that always goes back to why you want to focus primarily on sellers, because you don't have to deal with all those inflated egos and emotions. But let's get to point number 5.
Point number 5. Now, you talked about this not knowing about new construction, but I'm going to give them some action steps to cure this. Remember that more than 30% of available homes in most markets are new builds. You're doing yourself and your buyer clients and prospects a disservice if you remain ignorant about new construction. So how do you fix this? Action steps. You can use newhomesource.com and or your own Google search by town or zip code. Find out which builders are building in your area. Start a file, make your own Google sheet where you're tracking the name of the builder, the developer, the price range, the type of home, special financing, etc.
All right, Julie has a bunch of notes for these action steps. Because of the sake of time, we're actually going to tell you just to get them from the newsletter. So subscribe to the newsletter, harrisrealestatedaily.com, and you can get all Julie's action steps. But I will give you this, that it's not in Julie's notes. You need to be going to every new construction model. Oh, there's none in my area. Go slightly outside of your area because your buyers already are. And you need to become besties with all the new construction reps. You need to know all of them. You need to know their assistants. You need to know all of them on first name basis. You need to become their best friends. Why? Because they're going to be giving you advantages. They're going to tell you about inventory homes they have for sale. They're going to tell you about specs that aren't officially on their websites.
And not in the MLS.
And they're going to be flipping to you their buyers buying new construction that actually have homes to sell. So you're going to get free listing leads from these new home build reps. Do you guys get what we're saying here? You need to build relationships with the new build reps, because in virtually all communities in the United States for the next forever, new construction is going to be running the board for sure. So get to know the people that run the models. And, I'll tell you another advantage. When you get somebody else, some buyer that shows up in your life, and frankly, I would do it with every buyer that shows up in your life. Normally, you have to show up in the new construction model, and you have to register that buyer with the builder by filling out a form. And some of the new build reps are going to say you have to actually have been there with the buyer the first time. Otherwise, if the buyer shows up with you, you're not entitled to a commission, blah, 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 blah. But if you're friends with that new build rep, if they've seen you're making an effort to sell their product, and you get 10 new buyers because you do an open house this weekend in an area that has new construction near it, you should take all 10 of those people, and you need to then go and register them with all the new build reps. So there's 4 major builders in your community. Register them with all the builders by simply calling them or texting them and saying, I just met with Bob and Betty. They might be a great prospect. I'm going to have them go over to you, and I'm registering with you right now. And that new build rep will most likely honor just that very informal communication you did with them. And then when Bob and Betty indeed wander into Sarah's new construction model, even though you've never been there with Bob and Betty, you're going to get on that contract and you're going to get paid. I'm telling you right now, guys, that's how it works. Listen to what we're telling you.
Exactly. Last but not least, and you just touched on it a second ago, you said generating leads from open houses. Mistake number 6, ignoring open house opportunities. One of the best things about having low inventory or not enough inventory is how well open houses work at generating both listing opportunities as well as tons of buyer prospects. You mentioned having an open house near new construction. That's a great strategy. Some of you hate open houses. You guys say that because you've never had a successful one.
Well, because they don't know how to do it.
Well, you know how to cure that.
Yes, there's we have a complete open house system that's in Premier Coaching.
Yep.
And our open house system is proven to work in all price ranges and all marketplaces, and it doesn't cost you anything. It's a very drilled down, very effective system for you getting in front of as many people as possible. And we're telling you guys right now, especially this time of year, a lot of the buyers, depending on the price point, a lot of the buyers that are showing up as, knock, knock, I'm here to see your open house, they're actually sellers that are going to be putting their houses for sale in the next 90 to 120 days, and they are formally or informally looking for a prospective listing agent that they can hire. So you are not really, you're sitting back there watching the football game, not paying attention to people walking in. Oh, I'm in the back if you have any questions. You guys have all experienced
Or not doing it at all.
Exactly. We're not doing it all. You're not just losing the potential buyer leads. You're also missing the potential seller leads that those buyers are then going to want to buy up or buy down, or frankly we're just using that open house to comp their own house.
Yeah, so that's a major mindset correction for some of you. I have heard this. I've seen it posted on agent sites online. I don't do open houses because I already have too many buyers and a lot of them aren't buying anyway. Well, that is you making sure you don't have any leads from doing open houses because your belief is only buyers come to that and that they're not serious. It's because you haven't followed an open house system. What Tim just said to you was a lot of those people, and we used to have this happen all the time because remember, we used to sell real estate. There would be people from down the street who were really interviewing the open house agents because their first filter is, I want to list with somebody who at least works in the neighborhood. How do I get to know them? Well, I'm going to go visit the opens.
And think about that from an advantage perspective when you're competing for that listing. You clearly are working in the neighborhood, to Julie's point, but you've also got a list of all the prospective buyers that are also looking in the neighborhood because you had them all registered because you're following our open house system. And you're then going to be able to say, Mr. Seller, I've got the list of the folks that we know are actively looking in your neighborhood right now. Let's sit down and talk about getting your home listed. Are you understanding what we're asking you guys to do here? Less time behind the keyboard, less time in the Facebook groups, less time behind your video camera making your little spiffy dancing cat videos, more time actually having meaningful conversations with decision-making adults about buying or selling real estate. You should all be rejoicing in this because it doesn't cost you any money and it's mostly fun to do. The system that you need to learn, scripts, things like that, are all waiting for you over at Premier Coaching.
So which of the six mistakes are you falling into and what are you doing about it? Probably some of you listening, it might actually have been all 5 or 6. You can fix all of this. For some, others of you, maybe you're doing, most of this right, but you hadn't ever really thought about open houses that way, or you're still ignorant of new construction.
If there was one that Julie and I should have put on there that we didn't, it would be furiously fast lead follow-up.
Yeah.
That's the other big mistake agents make. By furiously fast lead follow-up, we mean follow-up on all leads, no matter which form they show up in your life, digital or otherwise. You have to call them back within a minute or less. Call, ding, ding, hello, you know the phone. Call them back within a minute or less. Use our scripts on what to say. And just the very fact you made that extra effort will blow them away. If they get hold of you digitally and you don't have a phone number, message them back and say, what's your phone number? I'll call you back right away. And if they blow you off and they don't follow up with you, they probably weren't that serious in the first place. Real prospects, real potential leads want to have real conversations with you. They don't just want to be dropped into a drip campaign.
That's right. Thank you for bonus point or mistake number 7. Okay. And I agree with that. I'm glad that you pointed that out because some of you are thinking you have a lead generation issue when in fact that's not the issue. It's a lead follow-up issue. You do have leads. You're just not frosty enough to be converting them. So that's something you can also correct, which costs you no money.
Remember, our Friday fun, free-form, anything goes podcast is something all of you guys should be listening to. We really love the feedback that we've been receiving on that show. If you've not listened to our past 3 Friday podcasts, make sure you go back and listen to them. That is where we talk about all the wackadoodle things that all of us seem to be interested in nowadays, like aliens, like politics, like some of the silly things that we're hearing about coming from Doge, all these different things. So that's the Friday show, and of course, real estate. So make sure you tune in on Friday. In the meantime, thank you very much for being part of our lives. It is our pleasure and our honor to be part of your lives. Do us a favor. Please give us a 5-star review over on iTunes. Help us get the word out about this podcast. We put our heart and soul in this podcast every single day because we know thousands of you are listening and you're getting educated, you're getting motivated, and now it's your time to get into action. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you on the show tomorrow.